Yes.
righty. So we are live. Thank you
Yes.
everyone who is attending this month's CAD Chats. So it's August 1st, but technically this is July 1st CAD Chats or July CAD Chats. But I am very excited to have Dorelle McPherson here, who is our special guest. And this is actually a special episode, one, because this is like our do over, because our last time we had a little issue with audio. Although it's really funny because the last time it was an issue with your audio, this time it's an issue with my audio. So
Yes. It's
hopefully,
our karma. It's our karma.
exactly. Next time we do this, we'll have to like be in the same room.
Exactly.
Um, but the other cool thing is that we are, for the first time, we are now moving CAD Chats to YouTube Live. So we're streaming live on YouTube, and this is the first time that we're streaming live on LinkedIn. So very excited
Oh,
to
wow.
be doing that for both. Yeah, yeah,
That's
we're
cool. I didn't
we're
know that
famous,
part.
girl.
That's great. Awesome.
All right, so for anyone who is new to CAD Chats, this is only a 30-minute segment and it always goes very, very quickly. So I am
Yeah.
going to hand the floor over to you, Dorella, and I want you to introduce yourself. And let's just jump right in. Let's talk about how you got started in fashion. And I'm going to solo you.
Okay. Well, how I got started in fashion, that's going way, way, way back. Actually, my mom was a seamstress, so she taught me how to sew. I've been
Nice.
sewing since I was 6 years old. So when you ask how I started in fashion, that's how I started it. But yeah, she used to take me with her everywhere. So she took me to work. And, I learned all about pattern cutting. She was a pattern maker. And it was just, ingrained in me from the beginning. I started to go to in high school to like, showcase my artwork. And one of the teachers, she took a liking to it. I was drawing like fashion figures and croquis and textures and all that kind of stuff in high school. And she was like, "You need to go to the fashion high school." Actually, in junior high school, and she told me I need to go to fashion high school. So I went to fashion high school in New York City in Chelsea, and I went to fashion high school, and then from there I went to FIT. And then from FIT, I got my first job as a receptionist in a sweater company, and as a receptionist, I did everything that the boss told me to do. So all of a sudden, I had all these skills coming out of that job. I knew sales skills. I knew how to like mend things. I was the person that like put everything together in the showroom. And then I did a
Nice.
lot of different things where now I ended up being a technical designer. I worked for Calvin Klein for a while as an assistant designer, but the designer that I worked with, he was like, "You're always nitpicking everything. You need to be a technical designer." And in 1999, I started my career as a technical designer until recently, where I actually got my first job right now as a 3D designer, solo, no technical, right? So that's kind of
Cool.
like a switch for me, but it's been quite a journey. I've been able to work in so many different categories. So, it's just only fitting that my 3D journey has led me here. My technical journey just adds to that whole 3D environment. So
Nice,
we're good.
nice. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Hello to Miami Fashion Stylist. Thanks for watching.
Yeah.
So yeah, you went there. Okay, so tell me what kind of software, and I know there's a list.
Yes.
So can you list off which 3D software you use?
Yes. So right now, I currently use Style 3D. I use Clo 3D, Browzwear. I also have, I know, right? I also have history with Optitex 3D, but that goes a little bit farther back. But those are the things that I work with on a day-to-day basis, either working with people or, clients or actual work. At work, I use Browzwear. In my, when I do things for people, I actually either use Clo 3D or Style 3D. And with Optitex, it's a little bit outdated, but I do still open that program for 2D patterns. So it's quite
Hmm.
interesting. Yeah. That's the
Yeah.
first program I learned is Optitex.
I've heard a lot more people say that Optitex is great for the patterns, but not as great for the 3D. Like some of the other programs
Yep.
are better for 3D, but it's really good for
For
just pattern
2D,
making.
there's a tremendous workflow. And there's so many tools that actually factories use, and nobody's giving that up right now. So it is like, even if you use 3D, at some point your pattern might enter a Gerber, Electra, or Optitex
Right.
2D system. So yeah.
Right, right. And you also, I know you dabble in like Daz and what's
Yes,
the other
Shima
one?
Seiki, Daz, doing sweaters. So
Child.
my philosophy is try it. You never know. A lot of things in 3D kind of cross over, so you can share certain skills, but even different softwares create different types of garments in 3D, especially like a sweater. There's a whole sweater workflow that I use Shima Seiki for.
Hmm.
And Browzwear is also good for patterns, and it's what a lot of bigger companies tend to use. So sometimes I might, get a bigger client that might be using Browzwear. I actually was working for Browzwear for a little while, so it's a whole experience. We could have a whole nother talk about behind the scenes in 3D, but everything kind of crosses over. My philosophy is try it, gain the skills, and you never know where it might come in. I never know
Yeah.
where it might be able to be used.
Yeah, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. And Miami fashion stylist says that she also went to fashion high school back in the day.
Oh,
So you all
really?
might know each other.
Exactly. Well, we know, if you know Miss Carter, then you're in my you're in my age group. But yeah, we've got a lot of alumni in New York City too. All over the world. If she's in Miami, then yes, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I have a good friend who also went to the fashion high school also.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's
really great school.
a whole posse out here.
Yeah, yeah, and it's great to see that students are learning so young, and
Hmm.
I'm even wondering now if they have 3D in their curriculum, even in the high schools. They probably do at this point, but I'd be
Yeah,
interested to find that out.
yeah. They definitely should, and if not, you need to go and teach class. Throw.
Yeah, it's great.
So, do you use any of like the OGs, like Illustrator, Photoshop, or
Yeah.
any of like Procreate, or any of those other things that
So
some of the
actually, I
youngins use?
do. Yeah, I do actually use Procreate. I do a lot of my prints and my repeats and stuff in Procreate.
Okay.
If I'm just I like Procreate because it's on the iPad, and I can sit back in my bed. I don't have to be in front of the computer. I can just either make a pattern or make like an illustration. I haven't done illustrations, I want to say, in a couple of months, but it's so funny because my son and I we go together and like look at each other's work on the Procreate. So sometimes we'll be sitting there with these, looking at each other's artwork. He's an artist as well.
Uh,
But I do use Procreate, Illustrator, and Photoshop. It's all integrated into 3D, so I do end up touching it as well.
gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah.
So, what do you enjoy most about digital fashion software, particularly 3D fashion software?
Well, I tried to think about that question before you before you asked it. There's one thing that stands out above all the other reasons why I like it and do it every day, and have made a career out of it.
Hmm.
It's the fact that you can have an idea and you can see it uh, come to life. Different from a sketch, different from an illustration.
Yeah.
Um, it's real. You can turn it around. You can see inside, outside. You can change things in an instant. I like the gratification of seeing something that is as close to real as possible without cutting a garment. I can make
Right.
changes on the fly. I can change the colors. I can, make tons and tons and tons of samples or variations, iterations, whatever you want to call it. But it's just right there until you decide, and then you can go ahead and make it. It's
Gotcha.
just a different mindset from, going to the fabric store and touching fabric, making your pattern, draping. I still do some of those things, of course. I go to my local Joann's and I'm like, okay, I want to make something out of this, but with 3D, it's just such an instant gratification, and that's pretty much what I like about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. And Miami fashion stylist says that she graduated in '86.
Okay, so then she does know who I'm talking about when I say Miss Carter. She'll laugh at that because that was not too far from when I graduated. So,
Gotcha, gotcha.
yeah.
Now, I know what you like about 3D. What do you feel is one of the benefits or what's most beneficial about using 3D?
I think most beneficial is being able to have the conversation around the garment, whether it be a fit conversation, whether it be a texture or textile conversation, seeing what works, colors, seeing how maybe patterns can be manipulated. There's so many different ways to communicate about the actual style before you get to actually manufacture it. Before you have to be able to talk to the factory and tell them what it is that you want, you have a clear picture and you can get tie-ins from all of the different peoples, whether it's just you yourself having that, creative control, or if you have to answer to a few dozen people, then everybody can have that kind of control. Everybody can have that kind of communication and come to a decision about making a style. And it can be all done without waste. That is the biggest thing. I think it's just how it is sustainable, and it's sustainable, mentally sustainable, physically sustainable, and also sustainable, worldwide, with the whole, waste problem that we have in the fashion industry. You can do
Right.
all of that without cutting.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Now, do you have a favorite tool or a favorite function? And it could be something that's across all of the many different
Yeah.
types of software you use, or it could be like per software, whichever you want.
Well, okay. So I'll say that is kind of a tough question, because what is your favorite tool? I think in Browzwear, my favorite tool is the cut marks,
Hmm.
because you can manipulate a pattern without actually cutting the pattern. So just like you have a layer of control over just making a 3D pattern, it's also a double layer of control, not cutting maybe your block. You want to do some different style lines, you want to add some different treatments. So they have something in there that's called cut lines, which is one of my favorite things. With Style 3D, it's just beautiful when it comes out, when you're done. It's just, the render quality is really good. The avatars are really pretty. So I feel really, you know, when something comes out, it feels special, that kind of thing. With Clothes 3D, there are tools that nobody has, so you also, come to that thing where it's like, okay, I'm never going to leave Clothes 3D because there are all these tools that help me in my workflow. So there's so
Right.
many different things that, being that I use all of them, is kind of a hard question to answer, but that means that there's something for everyone. Like there's no one thing that's the right answer for one person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, what do you feel has been the most challenging thing about digital software? Like, what do you find most challenging about learning all of these? Because I mean, you've got a
Yeah.
growing list. So,
Yeah.
what do you find most challenging?
I think getting started. I think getting
Hmm.
started is the hard part, and cutting yourself some slack when you're getting started. Sometimes we have this idea that you're going to jump into 3D and it's going to be, easy because it's just, one, two, three, click, and then you have all these different things. But there's so many options, there's so many tools, there's so many things that just getting started and not getting overwhelmed is one of the biggest challenges.
Yeah.
I think being consistent. Personally, in my journey, I used to give myself at least 2 to 3 hours a week just to get on and practice. So I think the challenge is basically being consistent and not giving up on yourself, because if you're self-taught, or if you're taking a course, or if you're doing something, it's kind of like you have to see where it's going to take you and kind of have a vision of what that's going to be like. I mean, it is the future of fashion. It's not going anywhere. So I think giving yourself a break, but also being consistent with your learning. It's the biggest challenge.
Yes. Yes. I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. I totally agree.
Yeah.
So, what do you find most fun about working in 3D?
So you know that I use DAS a lot. So for me, the
Yes.
most fun is like, just, if you don't know, DAS 3D is more of a creative software that people use to make avatars and scenes and all different types of realistic environments and treatments. And that's kind of where I started to really get excited about how beautiful everything came out. Like Daz has a certain render style that you can use lighting and all that kind of stuff. So I think seeing that final product, especially in a program like Daz or Blender, just really, really excited me, and it kind of kept me motivated. Like, okay, let me see how good I can make this look. Let me change up the lighting, let me change up the texture. give it a little shine, a little dazzle, you know. So I think that is the biggest thing that I love, just seeing the final product, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Are
Yeah.
you working on anything that you can talk about that you find really interesting and exciting?
Well, that I can talk about. Yes, well, I just launched a course for Style 3D. That's something I
Oh,
love to
do
talk
tell,
about.
do
Yes.
tell.
On Udemy. So I just launched my course maybe about a week or so ago. That was challenging because just like I said, I had to push myself to actually get all the content ready for people to learn. I'm also working with a few companies right now. I'm working with Shima Seiki on some, some content. Maybe we can't talk about it, but as you know, I do sweaters in 3D as well. So I like to really dive deep in how that can go into the other different softwares and how you can make more realistic sweaters. So I am working on that. And, by day, I work as a intimate 3D designer. So I'm coming up with a 3D workshop for intimates in the future. Yeah.
Nice, nice. And intimate apparel is an interesting one because I've had many conversations with different people about how challenging it can be to do 3D for something that's so close to the body and so body contouring. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I do agree. There's a lot of things that go into intimates, especially what I'm working on right now is the actual textures. So the textures of like uh, the fabric textures, number one. So you got your lace, you got all the different, if shop Victoria's Secret or wherever it is that get your, your intimate apparel, there's so many different fabrics. You got the shiny fabrics, you got the matte fabrics, you got the fabrics that are just, there's bonding, there's all different types of treatment, which makes it really challenging. So I'm working on getting the materials ready to see what it is to apply the realistic materials for intimate apparel, the shapes and the nuances. Your pattern shape is not going to look like it's going to look on the body. So even if
Yeah.
on paper, even if you make a pattern piece for an intimate garment, it's kind of like, how's that all going to happen? And, there's, yeah, there's like, ease and that you have to consider. There's all different types of finishing and treatments of the garment. So I'm getting deep into that right now and how it
Nice,
can be used in
nice.
3D, but it is definitely a challenge.
Yeah, yeah. And we have a comment from Miami Fashion Stylist. She said that she is loving your Udemy course so
Oh my God.
far.
So yay. Thank you for taking the
Nice,
course. There's so many people
nice.
already starting on the course. And it's really the way I did the course, just to be brief, the way I did the course was that you actually come out with 13 garments. So it's not just
Nice.
teaching you about like the tools and everything, but I'm teaching the tools. And then at the end of that lesson, you actually have a garment that you can save and manipulate. And by the end of the course, you know how to do a lot of manipulation. So you could just keep going. So I
That's
designed it like
awesome.
that. So I'm glad you like it.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, just a question about your Udemy course. What made you
Yeah.
decide to one pursue Style 3D? I mean,
Mhm.
you, what made you do all the other ones anyway? But this is just another feather in the cap.
Mhm.
But then, what also made you decide that you wanted to do this course?
Well, I know it's a pretty new software, meaning just the past few years. I mean, 3D is not new, but this is a new software. So I wanted to give people a chance to learn it and to be able to, I want to say, like I just said, like get something out of it. Like there's one
Mm-hmm.
thing to, learn the tools, but sometimes it's a little bit hard to connect the dots, right? So I designed a course for you to be able to connect the dots and get things out of it. I looked at a lot of tutorials, a lot of different, software tutorials and stuff. So I decided that it would be beneficial for you to be able to save something as your own and then start in the software like that. It's never easy to start, so whoever's taking the course, just keep being brave and keep pushing yourself. But it was also a love journey for me to just be able to put something together for people, and it's just the first of many. Of course, all the 3D software is going to be, I'm going to teach it just like that. So
Nice. So
yeah.
there's going to be more classes on the way. That's what it sounds like.
Yes, yes. I'm
Nice.
actually working on two classes. I can't tell you when they're coming out, but sometime before the end of the year. And one's going to be, because I'm a technical designer, one's going to be a technical design course. And what do you do for technical design in 3D?
Nice.
And
Nice.
the other one is going to be a DAS course, of course, DAS 3D for designers.
Yes. Yes.
Yes,
I'll be taking that one.
exactly. Yeah, it's wonderful.
Speaking of DAS, can you talk a little bit about what DAS is used for? Like what it is and what it's used for?
Well, it's called a character creation software. So you're able to make all types of characters, whether you're making, a dog, a monster, a elf, or a beautiful lady, right? So I use it to make avatars that I bring to the other 3D programs. So I'm styling the shoes, the hair, the body, all of the different nuances of the human like avatar. And I'm bringing it into the software and then creating the clothes and then bringing it back out into DAS and creating a scene and lights and all of that different stuff. So it is a character creation software, but you can take it into Blender, you can take it into Cinema 4D, Unreal Engine, you can take it into a lot of different places. So there's a heavy
Nice.
workflow there, especially for fashion designers.
Nice, nice. And we
Yeah.
have someone from LinkedIn saying, "Yay for DAS 3D."
Yay. Yes.
Now, we had also had this conversation just randomly a while ago about how some of the avatars are just kind of like they don't look that great.
Hmm.
And it was like the search for the perfect avatar or how to create an avatar. And one of the things we were talking about was how do you get the eyes to look more realistic? Because to me, I always feel like I can tell.
It's deer in the headlights, like.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So the good news is that the many softwares are kind of figuring that out. So a lot of them have now. Chloe has movable eyes. You can change the eye
Mm-hmm.
color. You can move the eyes around. In DAS especially, they have something called, like, you can close the eyes up or down. So I tend to like give her just a relaxed eye, and then I can bring that into 3D. It looks a little bit more real. Of
Yeah.
course, Style 3D, they have a whole section where you can change the avatar's face and you can make them smile. You can do all kinds of facial expressions. So I think they're getting it now.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
they're getting it now. But
Exactly.
it's one thing for the software companies to get it, but then the actual artists also have to be. That's why a course is like really good to like try to show how you can make the realism happen in your own work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Miami fashion stylist also saying yes, Daz. She really needs help with that. I get it because I'm there with you. I need help with
Yeah.
that.
Okay, I can put it at the top of the list for you guys.
Yes, please. That's the next one. That should be the next one.
Okay. For sure. I love
Okay.
it.
So here's the question. I feel like I might know the answer to this,
Oh, okay.
but just out of curiosity, mouse, stylus, or trackpad?
Mouse, because I am old school. I tried to use the stylus and it is not my friend. If I'm here using it, so I bought a whole display and everything. I went back to the mouse because I was like, why I'm clicking it? Like, you should see, because my son is from the new school, so he just uses the stylus, one, two, three, da da da, no problem. For
In
me, it's
3D?
a learn. Yeah, yeah. He uses Blender and he uses the stylus. I'm like, okay, you can have the display with the stylus. I'll just stay with my two computers here. And I use, yes, okay. It's something about learning, because you're learning something so, difficult, you want to make your tools as easy as possible. So for me,
Right.
it was just easier to just go with the mouse. I can control it. It's not that hard. So,
Yeah. I am often very intrigued by
mhm.
people who use the stylus in 3D because it's that three button thing. And I was always told you need a three button mouse
Yeah, but
and that it wouldn't work with us with the
there's a certain
stylus.
workflow where they have the three fingers, and if you know what to do, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I was
Yeah.
like, thank you, middle scroll. I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm like, y'all
yeah.
can have that.
Yeah. But some people get really fancy and they have like the mouse that has like all the buttons on it. It's like a whole tech mouse, and they do that whole thing. They got all the shortcuts that are,
Yeah.
attached to their fingertips, and it's
Yeah.
really good, but it's all about
But
how
it's still a
you feel
mouse. It's
comfortable.
still a
Yeah, it's still a
mouse,
mouse.
right?
Yeah, it's still a mouse. Yeah.
Like the Wacom thing, like it's great for when you're freehand drawing,
Yeah.
and even like when I'm doing flat sketching in Illustrator. Well, actually, no, I still use a mouse for that. But
Yeah. Yeah.
like if I'm freehand drawing, it's great. But anything else, I'm like, give me a mouse all day
Yeah.
long.
Yeah. And I think the software, 3D software kind of prefers the 3-button mouse. So
Yeah, yeah. And I've even had students who are using the trackpad. And that has really intrigued me because I'm like, really? A trackpad? But I
yeah.
mean, I
I,
guess
I
for
can
you,
I can use a trackpad, but only if I have to. Like if I'm on a laptop and I have to
really?
do it, I can use it. But I carry a mouse in my bag, a wireless mouse.
Yeah,
If
I
I'm
do
on a
too.
laptop, yeah.
I do too. I don't want to have to do that.
Yeah, yeah. Enough learning already. I don't want to have to learn that too.
Right, right, right. Like just learning the
Still
software is
works.
enough.
Exactly. Still works. But yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, we are wrapping up. That went really fast.
Yeah, right. We
um,
can talk, but we can talk. We've talked
I
before in
know, I
person. We could
know.
just keep going. Yeah.
I know. And then as soon as we start geeking out on software, I'm just, we could go for hours on that.
Yeah, we can. We can. But it's good to
um,
know that people are interested and it's still growing and people are learning,
yes,
how much of
yes,
benefit it is, really is a benefit. And look at me,
yes.
I started in I think it was 2004, no, 2009 maybe. And now I started
Wow.
3D 2009 and now I am, working as a 3D designer.
Yeah. And
So
mastering like 20 different softwares.
that's only by choice, so I wouldn't put that on anybody, but yeah, it's fun for me.
but it's possible.
Yes, it is possible. So, but one thing at a time. And like I said, they're all kind of intertwined. Once you learn a few things here, you can transfer the skills over. So it's really good.
Well, that's my last question for real, for real.
Okay, okay.
How do you keep them all straight?
What do you mean?
Because because like there's just small differences in how you click certain things or what you know what I'm saying? Like there
Practice.
little things, little things.
Practice. But I will tell you that I do, there are certain keystrokes that are only for this software and it doesn't work in the other software, but I do find myself in Browzwear, if anybody knows, pressing the space bar. Okay. And
Yes.
it's
Oh my God, the
nothing
space bar.
happening. And I'm just like, oh, that's not what I'm supposed to do.
Right, right.
So it
Especially if you spent a lot of time in Illustrator, which I did.
yes,
And so I still do that, constantly pressing the space bar and everything just falls to the floor. And I'm
exactly.
like,
So we can answer Sarah's question. Sarah, yes, indeed. And that is how I started importing
nice.
from DAS to Clo 3D.
Yeah, yeah.
Possible. And Clo 3D welcomes it. They have a lot of tools to work with DAS. So for sure.
Awesome. Awesome. And then Sarah Beatty also says, yes, watch Dorelle's YouTube channel. Yes. Speaking of
Yes.
which, why don't you let everybody know how they can find you on social media?
Sure. So like Sarah just said, so it is YouTube. The channel name is The Fashion Tech on YouTube. And on Instagram, it is The Fashion Indie. So you can find me on Instagram and YouTube. And those are mainly the ones. I'm usually like on Instagram, but LinkedIn, it's my full name, Dorelle McPherson, and you can find me like that as well. But I'm very business on LinkedIn. You have to be serious. No, but yeah. And also, the Udemy course is called Style 3D Essentials. So you can find it there too. I
Awesome.
answer
Awesome.
questions from everywhere.
Fabulous, fabulous. And if you could, on
Yeah.
LinkedIn, in the comment section under this, put a link to your course,
Okay.
and a link to your channel. Yeah, so people
Yep.
can find
Yep.
you.
For sure. For
All
sure.
right. Well, we
Yeah.
are 1 minute to 7 o'clock. Wow, that was
Oh,
that was
it was
crazy.
fun. It was a blast. It's always a blast
Yeah.
talking to you. And I'm glad that the audience is loving everything. It just cheers me up and keeps me motivated. So DAS 3D is the next course according to everybody.
Yes,
I
yes.
got my work cut out for
That's what
me.
it has to be. It's done.
Yes. But thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you very much to everyone who tuned in and
Yeah.
commented and stayed engaged. Really appreciate it, and stay tuned for next month's CAD Chats,
Yeah.
which will happen in August. So
Okay.
we're gonna actually we'll have two, but again, technically this was July. But thank you again, and everyone have a great evening.
All right. Take
Bye.
care. Bye bye.
Okay. All right.